So my name is Jennifer Hughes. I am actually the oldest female in the nation to join the military and go through basic training. All these other veterans here, they are way cooler than I am because they have gone through so many more things than what I could even fathom. That they, yes, I am honored just to be here with all these other individuals. That I'm just starting my journey in the military. I've only been in for 1 year, but like I said, I am the oldest female to go through basic training on the enlisted route. It took a long time to get in. So when I was your age, I always wanted to be either military, police officer, fireman. I just love the uniform. I love what the uniform represents with all the service members. But in my 20s, I got in a really, really bad car accident. I ended up being in a wheelchair for a while, and that changed my whole path in life. Being in a wheelchair and with my doctor telling me, I don't know how your legs are gonna heal. I have rods and pins and screws in my legs. And so they're like, we don't know how your bones are gonna take to the rods. That scared me. So being in a wheelchair, I had to learn kind of a lot of things about myself and adapt to a whole new way of living. I realized too, I took a lot of things for granted, like my health. I mean, we can go run around, enjoy everything, but we don't realize how good our bodies are, right? So I took that for granted. I worked really, really hard when I went through physical therapy. I'd put in extra hours. Like when I went home, I'd do more stuff just so that I would become stronger. I realized that when I started getting back into walking, I got into running, and I realized I was pretty good at running. So then I got into racing, and I ended up doing the marathon. Who knows how far a marathon is? Do you have a parent that runs? Okay, because that's actually, you're the first person out of the 2 days that put the 0.2 in, 26.2 miles. That is correct. So that's from here to about Provo Canyon. So you have to get off the freeway and go to Provo Canyon. That's how far a marathon is. I got into racing and I ended up being pretty decent at it, that I went for the Olympic trials. And so for the past 10 years, I have been training for the Olympic trials in the marathon. And because of my running, that helped me get into the military. Now, when I was 42 years old, so the cutoff for military is 35. And then they have a waiver that you can do for age. And depending on what branch, it's 42 to 44. So at 42, I started to do my paperwork. There was a recruiter that came into the high school and he started talking about the Army National Guard. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of it. And so he was probably shocked when I went up to him because he was expecting a high school kid. But here I was, I'm like, I want to do this. And he's like, well, Hughes, he's like, you are old. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm like, okay. He started the paperwork, and sure enough, it didn't go anywhere. So then I found another recruiter, and I said, hey, I want to be part of the Army National Guard. And with this recruiter, he was able to help me a lot more. He was in for a little bit longer, so he knew a little bit more of the ropes to go through. And he helped me a little bit more, but I got denied 3 more times. And so it kind of brought me back to being in a wheelchair when the doctor said, you can't do this. What do you think I thought when they said, you can't do this for this? Devastating, right? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna work harder. Just like I had to learn how to walk again, I worked hard. So then I had to work hard to get into where I wanted to be. So I wrote a letter to the governor and I said, Governor Cox, why can't I do this? I said, I'm physically fit, mentally, emotionally, I'm in the right place. I want to serve our country. I want to do something that is greater than me. I'm like, please let me serve. I didn't hear anything for a few months. And then finally I get a phone call from the legislator that was handed down to him, and we talked for a while. And so that got the process going. Ended up going, they signed off on it in Utah, but then it had to go to the Pentagon. So way up to all the big guys, the White House, everything, that they had to sign off on it. I waited 3 more months before I heard anything. And then one day, 3 recruiters came walking into my school, into the classroom I was working in. And they're like, Hughes, you got in. And I had so many mixed emotions because I have never left my kids before. I've never left my husband. And now I knew I was gonna be gone for a long time to go through my training at basic, and then you have to do a second round of training for the field you go into. So I was gonna be gone for a long time, and that scared me. But I was also very excited to go and be part of this, this new adventure. Well, my first day at basic training, oh my gosh, okay, it was hard. On day one, I already had, like I said, I was sick to my stomach. I had to pit my stomach. I'm like, did I make a mistake? What did I get myself into? This is gonna be a long road. And the drill sergeants, they were not the nicest. Lots of yelling. I really just was dreading it. I wanted to go in without people knowing my age though, because guess what? I'm with 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They're young, right? They're strong, they're fast. They are all like in wrestling, football players, track runners, and so they are very physically fit, and I felt very inadequate. So I get there, I didn't want them to know my age because I didn't want them to be like, oh my gosh, she's old, and her being a female, she's not gonna be able to do this. So my recruiters told me to lay low. They said, try to stay in the middle of the pack, don't stand out with your running, just stay in the middle of the pack. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But I get there, and as we're sitting there, the first sergeant comes out, and he was very intimidating. And he said, Hughes, how old are you? And I'm like, oh, great. There's 264 of us sitting there. And so when they called me out in front of everyone, I'm like, 45 years old, first sergeant. And he looked at me, walks away. Then the captain comes out and asks the same thing. He walks away, and then the drill sergeants, kind of one by one. And so they were purposely doing that because they were messing with me. And then the first sergeant and captain come out, and they're like, Hughes, we want to talk to you before dinner. And so they pulled me out with a few other older people, but they weren't as old as me. No one was in their 40s. They pulled us out, and they kind of gave us this little lecture about, you know, us being old. You know, we got to make sure that we take care of our bodies. But then he turned to me and pretty much said, like, how I took it was like, you're a liability. You're too old. You're not going to be strong enough. You're not going to be fast enough. You're not going to be able to do this. And that really messed with me. That made me feel like a lot of insecurities came out that made me feel really down, and I believed it. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right. I'm not strong enough. I'm not going to be fast enough. There's no way I can do this. Have any of you guys felt that way? Okay, I'm going to tell you what you need to do is you got to change that mindset. So when I went to bed that night, the rest of the day, I really, like I said, I wanted to cry. I was sick to my stomach. And when I went to bed that night, I had to give myself that self-positive talk. I had to tell myself, I am strong enough. They can't tell me I don't belong. I am going to prove to them that I do belong. So cool thing is, 3 days later, they take us out to this big field, and there's a 1 mile loop. And guess what they said? They said, we are doing a race. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm like, I can do a race. I'm like, this is where, you know, I can just prove that I belong. And this is where I decided, I'm like, I can't listen to the drill or my recruiters, what they said to lay low and stay in the middle of the pack. I had to prove to everyone that I belong. So they lined 264 of us up. They kind of staggered it. But when they said, on your mark, set, go, half the boys and some of the girls took off running on a full-on sprint. Like I said, I am a track coach. I've been doing it for 15 years. I knew that these guys took off way too fast. How many have done that, where you take off way too fast and then it's hard to finish the rest of the race, right? Well, that's what these guys did. And so, sure enough, after a minute, 2 minutes, I started passing all these people. And when I got to the halfway point, so at the half a mile, I realized I was in 5th place overall. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And once again, started talking that, like, thinking that positive self-talk. I passed the next guy, and then I get to the guy that was number 4. And him and I became good friends. But he looked over at me. He's like, oh, no, not you, Hughes. I'm like, oh, it's me, Gardner. And he took off. Like, he's like, I can't let you beat me. So he took off again. But 30 seconds later, I caught him. And I'm like, see you, Gardner. And I ran past him, and he kind of laughed. Like I said, we have a good relationship. And then I passed the next two that are the next one, and I ended up taking second overall. And that did a lot for the drill sergeants that immediately they're like, Hughes, get over here. So I ran over to them, and I had to act like I wasn't tired, even though I was so tired. I think my mile time was like a 5:34 that day, and I just, I was tired. And so I go up acting like I wasn't tired, and they're like, Hughes, where'd that come from? I'm like, I don't know, drill sergeant. I like to run, drill sergeant. And they're like, oh my gosh. They're like, okay. They're like, get back in line. I'm like, okay. And then the next couple of days we did a physical test where we had to see how many push-ups we could do, how long we can hold the plank for. They do like a sprint, drag carry type thing. So it's called the ACFT, but it's another physical challenge that you have to do, that you have to pass. And I ended up being one of the top, in the top 3 for my test. That earned the respect of all the drill sergeants. That from then on, it taught me a very valuable lesson. Here's another lesson I want you to learn. Don't ever be mediocre. It doesn't matter if you're the slowest person or the fastest. Do it the best you can, because that's going to go a lot further than trying to be mediocre and staying in the middle. Stand out, because if you are the slowest person on the team, but your coach or your teacher or whoever can see that you're trying, it is pretty incredible, and it's going to build your confidence, and it's going to make you be a better person. So don't be mediocre. You need to stand out. After that, I loved basic training. It was hard. Like I said, we got yelled at a lot. We had to do a lot of physical things, like doing the weapon training. Like, I've never really shot weapons before, guns. I learned everything out there, and it was pretty amazing experience. Okay, this shirt right here. This is our PT clothes. So this is what we wear when we're working out. Well, there was one morning, the drill sergeants came, and we were all in these clothes, in our uniform, and they said, you have 10 minutes to go up, change into your PT clothes, and get back down in formation. 10 minutes is not a long time. So everyone's scrambling. Like I said, 264 of us are running to our sleeping areas. We're getting everything, and we get back down in formation, and we're all standing there. There's 4 rows, and there's 66 people per group. So there's about 15, 16 of us in each row, and you have to stand with your hands down, your feet kind of in a V, and you are standing and you are looking straight. You cannot look around. Very still. Well, there was a young man in my group, not too far away from me. I noticed that all the drill sergeants went up to him and started yelling at him. And they were in his face screaming, and we're all trying to look over without them noticing that we were looking. But what I realized is this individual, he had his shirt on backwards. Yeah, it's not a good thing, because you all need to be matching. Everyone has to be the same. So he had his shirt on backwards. What do you think they made him do?
Go back and make it right.
No, they didn't make him go back, and they didn't make him do push-ups yet. They made the rest of us do push-ups because of him. So we had all these push-ups that we were doing, like 20, 30 push-ups, and we just kept going whenever they just told us to stop. So we were doing push-ups while he just stood there, and he felt bad because we're all being punished because of him. But then, like I said, we're all in formation. They made him, the rest of the day that we had PT clothes on, they made him stand backwards like this. So the rest of the day, just so that the Army could match the rest of us. So he's facing the other way. Do you think that embarrassed him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. But do you think he ever did that again? No. So he stood backwards. He even had to do push-ups backwards. How do you do push-ups backwards? But they made him. So when we all got punished again, it's hard to do with the Army facing with push-ups backwards. And then they told us to march out. Guess what? He had to march backwards. Yep. Like I said, he never did it again. Okay, another training we did is, I'm going to talk about the gas chamber. Okay, this mask right here, this is our gas mask. And what's pretty cool is with this training, they're teaching you how to trust your equipment and know that it works. So they had us put these on, and then you go into this little room. There's 30 of us. We go into this little room, and they have you do 20 minutes of exercise, and you have your uniform on. I went in the summertime, and so it was 114 degrees that day, and we are hot and we're sweaty, And when you're in this room, like exercise for 20 minutes, we were all very hot. And having this on, it's uncomfortable, like breathing. And what they are doing is once that 20 minutes is up, they take us into this other room where they shut the cement doors and they release the gas. And you know the gas is working because with sweating, your pores open up, that everything like started to get tingly and sting. So my skin started to sting, up in my neck, like I felt everything stinging. So I knew the gas was on. So I was able to breathe, I was able to see. I'm like, that's actually pretty cool that this is working. And then the drill sergeant said, okay, everyone, hold your breath and close your eyes. You're gonna have to take your gas mask off, and we're gonna teach you how to blow out the air once you put the gas mask back on. So we took these off. I was holding my breath, closing my eyes super tight, and then they gave us the time to put it back on. So I put it back on, and real quick, put it back on, trusted the equipment, was able to breathe out, and we knew that the gas mask worked. And then they had us take it off, and that's when it burned. Like there was tears coming down, everyone like had this snot coming down. It was gross, but we knew that our gas mask worked. Like what I teach the high school kids when I coach, you have to have one thing that's gonna work for you. Like what I say to myself is, I say, I am powerful. So whenever I get negative thoughts in my head, I really do have to like push them out quick. So you gotta push it out quick. And if you can learn that now, that is pretty dang amazing because it's hard to do. But every time a negative thought comes in, push that out and say, I am powerful.
I tagged when he was 18.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I joined when I was 18. One of the best things I've ever done. I love this country. Thank you, everyone.